Javed Rana, I'm just curious about, the remarks, because among other things that he seemed to suggest was, the military asserting or being shown as a defender of Pakistan's Islamic identity, the military as Pakistan's ideological custodian. Now, the link between politics in Pakistan and leadership in Pakistan, it's all sort of mixed, it's all blended. But what was the signal or the messaging behind trying to get the military to be seen as Pakistan's ideological custodian?
I think two-nation theory is something which is a settled issue. We are not in 1947 to discuss the same thing again. But in a broader picture, the two-nation theory is basically Muslims and rest of the nations all over the world. It's not just Hindu. And then all other countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, we have so many other countries in Middle East and in African countries, and they are all the administrative units. Basically, this is a kind of a theory, and which is quietly applicable when Ottoman Empire was there about 125 years ago. Then it was, in a shape when there was one administrative unit. Now there are different administrative units. Now this is basically theory. We should not get into this debate. Now the bigger question about the reference of Kashmir, I can just give you a background. The background is that during General Asim his predecessor's time period, I think there was attack to diplomacy, whereby probably Pakistan was having some kind of a settlement with India over Kashmir, and one of the solutions could possibly have been that India could have retained its part of the territory and Pakistan could have retained its part of the territory. Those were the proposals which came in the media. And I think part of the reason Imran Khan's government was removed was because of the fact that Imran at one point of time was on board with the General Bajwa. But later on, he said, no, this is something I can't accept because there will be a huge public backlash. So I think the current army chief is trying to give impression and telling the people that gone are the days when those proposals were there.
All right, so it puts an end to those proposals.
But at the same time, let me also tell you, I can understand the nationalist leader in India can say that it is a part and parcel of India, but since there are so many numerous UN Security Council resolutions, Indian part of Kashmir and Pakistani part of the Kashmir, both, they remain disputed. These are the facts on the ground. We cannot deny it.
All right.
And so far,
there is an LC between the two. India strongly denies that, but I understand that you represent a Pakistani perspective on this. I just want to move across.
I'm telling you the international position
Javed,
on Kashmir.
Javed, I take your point. I'm not interrupting you for the sake of interrupting. I have other panelists as well.
Pakistan Army Chief is also trying to take an ideological stand as if they are the custodians of the ideology of Pakistan, and are they playing to the domestic audience to divert attention from their perilous situation?
Javed Rana, is there a basic disconnect between people you speak to, common people, educated people, who don't want any of this jingoism, and what the Pakistan Army Chief has now said?
I think what Army Chief has said that represent what people think about it. I think this is an issue which is a non-controversial in nature. But again, when you raise Kashmir's issue, then obviously India looks at it from a perspective which is more nationalistic. But again, that perspective internationally lacks legitimacy. This is a foregone reality. We should admit it. Now, since India has annexed it, it doesn't mean that it is not the disputed territory. Now, bigger question is that what is the reason that the Army Chief has chosen this time? The previous Army Chief was unpopular within the military because there was a controversy that he's trying to have some kind of underhand dealing with the Indians in league with the Americans to settle it, something I early on said it. Now, in that context, I think these remarks have been made. Partly, this is one part. And then his remarks on Balochistan, I think, again, it makes sense because this insurgency is there, yes, but again, this is a territory of southwestern territory of Pakistan, Balochistan, which is the landmass of which is a 44%, and the population is just 15 million, and out of 15 million, nearly half of it are Baloch, and then from within the Baloch, there is a one segment of the population which is resentful. And I think where I would criticize the army, and that is that over the period of time it has used excessive force, as a result of which these terrorist groups are recruiting more and more people. There is no representative government in Balochistan. That is a part of the reason. There is no representative government in Islamabad. The federal government is not representative because there was a rigging in the last general election. And all these issues can be resolved through peaceful means.
All right. So all of these issues can
let me finish. That is where I think because of the involvement of
Javed, you've got 20 seconds. I have to move on.
That is the hurdle. I think the day army quit interfering in the political affairs, things will start coming back to its real shape, and this Balochistan issues and this insurgency.
I think that's an important way of actually ending this discussion, and I think every speaker on this panel would agree that if the Pakistan army stopped meddling in the affairs of civilians in Pakistan, and if democracy had a real chance at stability, then perhaps a great deal of this would all go away. We'll leave it over there.
The growing tide of anti-Israel sentiments.
What you see behind me is just tip of the iceberg of what is happening in the country. More than half of $52 billion black CIA budget is spent on espionage network in Pakistan. How would you handle it?
The US has looked upon Pakistan as an ally at one point and then as an enemy at the same time.
That is going to be the first legal reason on the basis of which he is going to be instantly ousted by the Supreme Court of Pakistan.
Joining us live, Javed Rana, who's an expert on politics and geo-strategic issues.
In the world politics, which is not being driven by any moral principle, it is being driven by the hard geo-strategic realities. In a broader picture, more countries would aspire to have nuclear weapons.